Video 2, Chapter 3. I was at the hollow with Emmett and Emmy. We were in the garden playing ball when Danny came over all happy and such. "Hey, Squirt, I need a favor," he said, going over to Emmett and down to one knee so he'd be eye-to-eye level with him. "You want me to take out Peter?" "Sure, no prob," Emmett said, laughing. "No, not that." "You know that lady I told you about?" Danny asked. "You mean the tavern singer you no-cease talking about?" Emmett replied. "Yeah, her. She is coming here, and she has no idea where to find me. So, will the three of you go in the entranceway and play ball? Then when she comes in, you bring her to me," he asked. "We's get into trouble, Danny, and Daddy has a fit about us playing ball in the house. We gonna tell him you said for us to." Emmy spoke up, and Danny laughed. "Good plan. I will take all the blame, little sister," he told her. We took the ball and went into the great hall and started to play. Emmett and I would toss the ball to one another, keeping Emmy from getting it. She was not happy when we would toss the ball to her and she stomped her foot. "I am not going to play with the two of you if and I don't not get to toss the ball," Emmy said, and we laughed, and I tossed the ball to her, yet over her head, and it went down the hall. "Now look what you went and done," she said. "Go get it," I told her. "You tossed it way over there. You go get it," she said. And then we looked at Emmett, who was going over to a lady that came in. She was pretty. I ran and got the ball and moved over to Emmy as she watched Emmett. "Hey, I gots to take pretty lady to Danny. Be back," Emmett called as he led the lady to the stairs. "All right, you get lost and I make out with your sister," I called to him. "She bust your nose if'n you do," he called back, and I laughed as I tossed the ball to her and she back to me. We were in about the 9th level. When we first met Patsy Lee, Emmett disappeared up the stairs with the pretty lady, and she was pretty. "So you gonna ask Carol to the dance?" Emmy asked as we tossed the ball back and forth. "Sure, you wills not goes with me," I told her. "Law, I gonna bust your nose." "I done told you," she said. "Yeah, I just hoping you had a change of heart," I told her. "Nose, I still gots the same heart." I pushed her playfully as she laughed. The next day at class, we were in the cafeteria. Carol came in, and I moved over to talk to her. "Hey, you want to go to the dance with me on the 6th day?" I asked her. "Truly, you want to go with me?" she asked, all excited. "If'n you want to go with me, sure," I replied back. "I would really like that," she said. "Great. Want to sit with us?" I asked her, being all gentleman and stuff. She walked back to the table with me, and we sat. That was the start of a nightmare. The following 2 days went by, and the dance we all went to. It was great. The music was good, and the dance was fun. I danced with Carol, and she hung on me as if and I might get away. When I wanted to dance with Emmy, she got all slight attitude. However, she did not show it too much, and it passed as quick as it came. I was hoping she got upset because it was the first dance we had went together. Damn, was I wrong. I was soon to find out that she was a spoiled brat. Her father was one of the nobles in the king's court, so she thought she was a princess, which she was not. She always put down those of the lower classes, and sometimes tried to put down the ones of the royal class, which was quite funny, as they ignored her most of the time. Anyone she felt was not giving her her way or spoke not nice to her, she felt it was her right to slap them. Everyone nicknamed her Miss Slappy, and little she knew they actually laughed about her. Emmett had run off during class that day. I watched him leave. He did not say where he was going, so after class I went searching for him. I found Cyrus walking down the hall. "Seen E?" I asked. "No, not. Did you lose him?" he said, looking around as if he could find him. He left class and did not say where he was heading. I told him. "Find the girls, you might find him," he said with a laugh. "Imagine that," I replied. As we moved through the center en route to the cafeteria, as we entered we saw E and the girls and the others. Cyrus pointed to them. "Law, I found E," he laughed. I chuckled at him and shook my head and moved over to where all gathered. "What did you run out of class for?" I asked him, as I sat across at the table from him. "I did not run, I walked. I had to speak to Mr. Keller. I got to do a report on Odin's Mountain, and I had questions about it," he told me. "It could not wait till after class," I replied. "Law, I am fine. Why you always want to go where I go? I not pass over or nothing," he told me, and I smirked. Emmett was the only one who could just get up and walk out of class and not said a thing to him, or no one said a thing to him. Must be great being the son of the high priest. The girls then stood up. "We gots to go," Pardina said as Juanita stood with her. "Where are you going?" Emmett asked. "We are going to try out for the music thingy that is being offered to 9th levels." "Want to try out with us?" Pardina asked. "No way. My brothers do enough of that for me. They always on the stage singing and Dad says gyrating across it. He does not like them doing it. I'd be in enough trouble with him. We meet you in the rec area after classes," he told them, and they laughed, and away they went, all besides Carol, that is. I looked to her. "You're not going with them?" I asked. "I do not think so. That is the thing for peasants. I would not be caught dead in service to anyone," she said. "Really? Did you forget Juanita and Stockard are the daughters of our king?" Maverick asked. "Yeah, Mike and the Thunders and Danny Lee are the high priest's sons," Donnie added. "Whatever," she spitefully said, standing and moving from us. I laughed. Carolyn thought she was better than everyone. I often thought of telling her I did not want to go to the dances with her anymore. However, did not want to quarrel with her. Emmett's brothers, Mike, Alex, Danny, and Paul, were all part of the entertainments. They were singers and really good also. They had royal concerts all the time and went on what they called tour. They were gone a lot. After classes, the guys and I were headed out to find the girls. They were in the 9th and we're in the 10th levels now. As we walked out into the rec garden, we heard a lot of screaming and took off in a run to find out what was going on. You think you can join? You cannot afford it. Just because you hang with the Leons and the Humburges, you are a peasant. Go plow a field. You are not singing with us. A group of girls had Pardina in a circle of them and pushing her about. Juanita and the others were yelling for them to cease. We ran up on them. "What is the meaning of the Isic?" Emmett called out, and everyone ceased and looked to Emmett. "Partina, to me, please," Emmett said, holding his hand out to her. As the others stood frozen, it seemed, Partina ran to Emmett. He took her hand and placed her over to me and Cyrus. "There is no sense in all of this. If you don't want to sing with Partina, it be simple, do not. However, you will not harm her. Cease being mindless snobs," Emmett told them, and we all just moved from them. They did not say anything until we were away from them. Then I heard them start to talk, and they weren't saying nice things about Partina. Chapter 4. Emmett and I was sitting on the front stoop of Valhalla Palace when... Oh, wait. I need to explain something. Hey, give me credit, would you? We did make it to the Chapter 4 before I ventured off my story. Anyway, there are 3 palaces of the Humburges. There is the Palace of the High Priest, which is Valhalla. Then Palace of Damera, which is where the High Priest's older children live, the residents of the Sultan Circle, that is. Then last there is Jabar. That is the residence of the siblings of the High Priest. Now they do have their own personal cottages or dwellings. However, that is where they are if need be. Alright, also there is castles. The castles are for the kings and the other residents of royalty. The High Priest family is the only high royalty there is. Then the royals, the nobles, and the peasants. The nobles are any who own establishments or property, and the peasants are any who work for the nobles and or do not own property, yet rent it. I do hope I explained that for you. Alright, back to my story. As I was saying, Emmett and I was sitting on the front stoop when we saw the return of the royal entertainers. Then we saw a wagon, and Danny was driving it and going very fast, and everyone seemed to be upset. We watched as they took about 4 people in chains into the palace. "Hey, what's going on? Why'd Danny zoom by like he did? Something on fire?" Emmett asked one of the members that were headed past us. "We was attacked on our return back home. Patsy Lee was harmed and is in twilight." So Danny says, and the one did not get to finish what he was saying when Emmett jumped up and looked to me. "Come on, we got to go to Danny's estate. I got to check on Pretty Lady," he said, and I stood with him, and we moved to the steeds. We were to Danny's estate. Patsy Lee was Danny Lee's girlfriend, and Emmett loved her a lot. He had some discs or recordings of her singing. She sung great. I liked listening to them with him. Also, they played her songs at our dances a lot. Patsy was known as a Southern Tavern sweetheart. She was very nice and sweet. I liked her a lot. As we rode up on the cottage... Oh, by the way, we do not have houses and such as the world does. We have cottages. We do not have the word house. We use the word cottage. Alright, now, as I was saying, as we rode up on the cottage, Emmett jumped off his steed before it even came to a halt and ran into the cottage. I just followed him. Danny and the others were in the main room. "Danny, Danny," Emmett yelled. "Hey, hold on. What are the 2 of you running in here like that for? And where is the fire, little brother?" Danny asked as he moved quickly to Emmett, who was very much upset at this time. "Where's Pretty Lady? I heard her was hurt." "Where is she?" Emmett asked. "She is in our chambers," Danny told him. "I wants to see her," Emmett told him. She is in twilight. She has not woken up yet," Danny said, trying to calm Emmett down. "What happened to her?" he asked. On our way back from the tour, we were attacked by a group of gypsies that wanted her sister back. One of them charged Patsy with a sword. "She has life gift. She will return. It is just a matter of time," Danny explained. "Where is the fool that attacked her?" Emmett asked. "She is in custody. Some of the others are without life," Danny told Emmett. "I can see her, right?" Emmett asked, calming down. "Yes, come on, little brother," Danny said, and we followed him up to their chambers. Patsy was very pale and laying on the bed. Emmett and I walked over to the bed. Emmett placed his hand on her head. "Danny, she's cold, very cold," Emmett said with tears in his eyes. "I know. She will be fine. Her body has to heal the wound, then her body temperature will start to rise," Danny told us. "You get better, Pretty Lady. I will come every day and check on you," he told Patsy, then moved on to the bed and kissed her on the forehead. He then looked to Danny. "Where's this sister of hers?" he asked. Emmett, I am taking care of it. Patsy loves her, and she would want no harm to come to her. Right now, Jolene is feeling the betrayal she caused. Let me deal with this and you behave," Danny said. "All right, I got to tell Emmy. She will want to know," Emmett said. Emmett then turned to me. "Come on, Law, we got to find Emmy," he told me, and I moved out of the cottage with him. We moved to Valhalla and found Emmy with the others out in the garden. She stood when she saw us. "What has happened?" she asked. I often wondered how Emmy knew when something was going on. Emmett did not even have to say anything was amiss. "It be Patsy. Her was hurt on their way back home. She in twilight." Partina stood up also now and came over to us. "Patsy? What happened, E?" she asked, getting concerned. "Now, I just told Emmy they was attacked, and her got hurt," Emmett said. "Wait, Emmett, you did not say they was attacked," Emmy said, now giving her brother an evil eye, and I had to laugh as Juanita was now on the other side of Emmett, as Partina and the others side, and his sister before him, and he was trapped. Me? I was enjoying this. Emmett always got himself in a mess with the girls. All right, he said, glaring at me, which only had me laughing now harder. "Shut, Paul. Law," he smirked. "I ain't the one about to receive the third. You are," I told him as the girls were waiting for him to reply. "All right." Danny said that a group of gypsies wanted Patsy's sister back, and they attacked them, and one harmed Patsy. That be all no. Danny says she will be fine. However, her cold right now and in bad condition," Emmett explained, and we all went back to Danny's as the girls now wanted to check on Patsy. Patsy was asleep or non-respondent for 3 weeks. When We went to Danny's every day. We asked the same questions as we moved into the quarters where we were told Danny was. Emmett knocked on the door. "Enter," Danny called out. As we entered, Emmett asked the same question he asked every day for the passing of 3 weeks. "Pretty lady wakes up yet?" "Hey, Squirt." "Yes, she is awake," Danny replied. Emmett climbed up on the bed next to Patsy, and I stood beside him. He kissed her on the forehead. "Hey there, little flirt," she said, and smiled. And she was very weak, it would appear. She still looked kind of pale. However, her color was back. "Hey, pretty lady, you give us all a scare," Emmett told her. "I had Dad buys me your disc. You know you sing like a whispering bird," Emmett then continued to say. "Thank you, always the charmer," she said to him. Then she looked to me, and I smiled to her. "Greetings. It's good you're awake now," I said to her. "Greetings." "E is right. You can sing to me all night if'n you wanna," I told her. "This be Law. He be my best friend," Emmett told her as if maybe she forgot who I was, and I chuckled. "He is as charming as you are," she said, and that made me laugh. "Yep," Emmett said, then Patsy laughed. "She gonna need something to eat," Emmett said, looking to Danny. "Right. You and Law want to let Jolene know that Patsy is awake, and to send her up here with a tray of soup and bread?" Danny asked. "Sure thing," Emmett said, kissing Patsy on the forehead again, then jumped down, and we ran out of the room and down to the gathering area where Jolene was. As we ran in, she was cleaning the bookshelf. We startled her, and she moved to her knees. "No time for all that. You sister awake, and you need some soup and bread. Danny say to tell you to get it for her," Emmett said. She raised quickly. "Thank you, master," she said to Emmett, and then she ran out of the room. Chapter 5. Now, before we go any farther into this story, I feel the need to explain a thing or two to all. On our world, or on the garden, there is no prisons, jails, reform schools, correction institutions, or anything of that sort. I believe you understand where I'm going with this. We have a correction system referred to as thwartancy. Now, those of you on the world would call this slavery, and would more so not agree. However, our society is much different than yours, and thwartancy is the way of life, so to speak. If you violate a decree, you serve forfeiture, and that forfeiture is the penalty for violating decree. It has always been like this, and it is an Odin decree, and cannot be demolished. However, some decrees can be changed concerning it, and some cannot. Odin's decrees are decrees declared by Odin himself, and his decrees may not be changed. However, through the Millennium, high priests have added to them, and not for the best, I would say. A decree declared by a high priest can be changed, as the high priest and the high king are the only ones that can make or change a decree. The high king is the surveyor of Heldendris, and the high priest is the surveyor of the Sultan. Our world is broken into 2 factions, the light, which is the Sultan and any who follow Odin's decree, and the dark, which is Heldendris, and any who follow the Ars decree or Armethius. We have a decree for everything, from men to women, free to Thornton, young to old. There are even youth decrees which are for children of the garden. Alright, back to what I wanted to explain. We have two major statuses of Thorntons, branded and non-branded. As always, there is nothing simple about this either. As I mentioned before, the gods like complication. I am going to try and explain this the best I can. Odin had declared that any who violate his word would serve the one he or she violated for a time of service. If the person violated did not wish the violator, then he or she would serve the king of the kingdom or the count of the village. If they violated the same decree 3 times, then they were branded and sold to any who wanted them. There are decrees which will award you a brand without violating them 3 times. The major one is the taking of one's life without cause. I do believe those on the world call this murder. If you take someone's life defending your own self or your own life, then that is permissible. We have life challenges. That is where 2 people fight with the outcome of only one being left alive. That is within decree. Therefore, no forfeiture would be served. We do not have courts. However, they are referred to as the high priest, king, or count debates. There are actually 3 types of brands given. They are the male brand, which there is only one, referred to as a dingo, and if the male is branded, they can only be emancipated by any of the high priest family or the high royal family, the king or the count. Also, most remain in the boundaries of decree. Then there is the Dinah brand, known as the Lily brand. This is any female that is branded with said brand. She may be emancipated by any who wish to emancipate her. There is no boundary of decree. Then last, there is the courtesan brand, which is a rose brand. By decree of Odin, she may not be emancipated for no reason. If a female is rose branded, it is permanent. There is no hope for freedom for her. However, some are given liberties that no other branded person has. Now, because thorntoncy is part of our society, as it is, we have what those of the world would call slavers. However, on our world, they are known as Vikings. It is an established organization with decrees of their own that they are to follow. We have Thornton farms where they buy, sell, train, and breed Thorntons. We have Thornton cells. As those on the world would see this in disfavor, we on the garden see it as just a part of our society. We think nothing of it, actually, as it is part of our everyday life. Another thing to mention is currency. As the world has money, we have currency. We use coins and coin vouchers. We have diamond, gold, silver, platinum, and copper coins. Everything has a coin value. I do hope I explain this in a manner in which you can understand. Chapter 6. Now, back to my life story. We were all gathered in the gathering at Valhalla waiting on Emmett. We had no idea what was taking him so long to get ready. We had a dance to go to, and Partina and the others were singing at it, and I was wanting to get there early so we would get a good table, as the royal entertainers were also going to be there. That meant Patsy Lee. We were all in love with her. She was a great singer, and she helped us a lot. Her and Danny were funny, and they always funned about. Back off, moron. I do not know your problem. However, let me alone. I am not bothering you. Matter of fact, I am trying to avoid the likes of you. We heard Emmett yell at someone. We all looked to one another, then stood moving out into the hallway. Emmett and his brother Peter was at a standoff with one another. I and Emmy moved to each side of Emmett and looked to Peter. You are a child, and yet Father, for some reason, thinks you are better than any of us. What makes the likes of you so special? Peter said to him, Nothing. I am the last to come of age. Deal with it before I deal with you, Emmett said. You're just a baby. You cannot deal with anything, Peter argued. Peter, please back off before you are forced off, Emmy said, taking Emmett's hand, and I did the same. Get the three of you separated and you're powerless, Peter angrily said. We are not separated now, Emmy said, and Peter turned to leave, storming down the hall. I looked to Emmett. What was that all about? I asked. I have no idea. He is always after me. I do not know what his damage is. We're going to be late, Emmett said, and motioned us all out to the coaches, and we rode to the education center for the concert and the dance. Not sure what happened. Oh well. As we entered, we looked around. The palace was packed with people, or the place was packed with people. Even adults were just there. I just knew this would happen. Then Emmett motioned us to follow him. Come on, Danny has us a table. We all pushed through the crowd and came up on Danny, standing by a long table for us. I was thinking you were not coming, Partina and Juanita had said as they was looking to us. Then Danny looked over. Partina and Juanita went back on stage. Yes, well, Peter wanted to bother me. What his problem? Emmett asked Danny. Your abilities are greater than his will ever be. He is older and feels it is unfair, Danny said. Not my fault. He needed to tally with Odin and leave me be, Emmett said, and Danny laughed. We are about to start. I will let the girls know. And you sit here and behave, Danny said, and moved toward the stage. It be all right, E. You will see, Emmy said. Yeah, I heard you, he said, and sat down. His mood was not getting any better. We got drinks and sat waiting on the curtains to open for the concert to start. I was excited. I wanted to hear Patsy and Danny sing, especially Patsy. The curtains opened and Prince Alexander stood on the stage with the mic. Greetings, all. Can anyone tell me where we are? I seem to have forgotten, he said, and we all called out to him. Atlantis North Education Center, we called. No, I am much too young for classes. I mean old. I am too old for classes, he said, and we all laughed at him. Oh, wait, you're saying I'm here not to be here. Well, I'm here. Gotcha. All right now. If I can just remember why here is. He then said, acting as if he was thinking. You're gonna sing, someone called out. Sing? Do I know how to sing? I think I forgot a lot of things. Perhaps I have engineering, he said, and we all laughed at him. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gents, let's put our hands together for the angels, he said. Partina, Juanita, Stockard, and a few I did not really know came out on stage and started to sing a song. Carol showed up around that time and looking to me and then sat down. Then with the next song they sung, she wanted to dance. So I got up and danced with her. The guys and I were all sitting on the table at the playground, doing what we do best, which was absolutely nothing. Juanita, Partina, and Stockard were on the swings. Hey, Law. Knows that little Dinah you was talking to the other day? One with the ponytail I kept teasing with? Cyrus asked. Yeah, whatever, I asked. Well, either Carol saw you talking her, or else someone told her you talking to her, 'cause she had her whipped in class. Cyrus said. I turned sharp and looked at him. Whipped? What for? I asked. She told Instructor Jolly that she displeased her. Later I heard her tell her to remain away from her boyfriend, Cyrus said. I took a deep breath. She cannot be doing that. It is crazy. Had to be more to it, I told him. Just letting you know, Cyrus said as Emmett poked me with his elbow. I turned to him. Yeah? Gonna tell me something crazy too? I asked. Nope, he replied and pointed to the way of the forest, and there was 3 women and 6 guards. And one of the women was Jolene, Patsy's sister. Ah, hell no, I said. And he and I jumped down off the table, and the others followed as we ran to the guard that were with the women. Cease, stand down, Emmett said as we approached. The guards turned to see who was giving orders to the kingdom guards. As the guards turned, one of the men was Tony, who was the owner of the Southern Tavern. Yes, he said, as the others just stood there holding the women. What going on? Emmett asked. Jolene with these other 2 women were attempting to leave the kingdom by the way of the Forbidden Forest. Emmett looked to Jolene. Why? He asked her. Forgive me, master. I will not say, she said. Why? Emmett asked in dismay. Emmett, she refuses to speak to any besides her master. Know where your brother is? Tony asked. Nope. However, we gonna find him, Emmett said. When you do, I will have them at the tavern in my office, Tony told Emmett. That one be free, no collar. I pointed to the one dressed free as the female and didn't have a collar around her neck. Yes, she appears to be. I will let Daniel handle this. I am just going to hold them, as none of them will talk, Tony said. Damn, Danny is going to go off, Emmett said, and we took off running for the steeds and rode to Danny's estate after getting the girls. Before our steeds even ceased moving, we jumped off them and headed into the estate. We asked one of the servants where Danny and Patsy was, and they told us Patsy was in the sitting room. If and we tell him he is going to go off, I told Emmett. If and we don't tell him he is going to go off. Either way, he is destined to go off, Emmett said. Well, if and you all tell him, I don't want to be around, Maverick said, as we entered the room Patsy was in. Pretty lady seen me brother? Emmett asked. She looked to all of us as we moved to stand around Emmett. Not since an hour passing. He said he was going to the Circle Lodge, she told us. What is wrong? She then asked. Nah, that is all right. Having one of you go off is sufficient enough, Emmett told her. She made a soft laugh. Now why would I go off? She asked. You really should not ask those types of questions, not good for your nervous system, you know, Maverick told her, as we really wanted to tell Danny, not her. Emmett, Law, what is going on? She asked. Come on, don't make us tell you before we tell Danny, Emmett pleaded. Prince Emmett Humburge, she said sternly. I knew we were in for it now. I just knew this was a bad idea. Nobody listens to me, Cyrus said, and I gave him a soft push. Hush up, I told him as Emmett started to tell Patsy what we needed Danny for. All right, we has to tell Danny that one of his courts are in the Southern Tavern, and she is chained there for being in trouble, Emmett said. Really? Why? She asked. Well, see, it is like this. Her meet up with two other girls, and they were caught heading to Forbidden Forest. Tony was with them, so we agreed to come in and find him, or to find Danny. He is going to go off, Emmett said. Uh-huh. And you thought I would go off because the court is Jolene? Patsy asked. I started laughing, as if it did not take Patsy long to catch on to who it was. Damn, she's good, I said. Shut up, Law, Emmett then replied. Yep, really no think she was going to go. However, they catched her and the other two at the entrance of Forbidden Forest, Emmett had said. All right, let's go. See what my little sister is up to now, Patsy said, and we followed her out of the cottage. Hey, you did not go off the way we thought you go off, Cyrus spoke up, saying. Patsy laughed, and we mounted our steeds and rode into the square. Now, steeds and wagons and coaches were not forbidden in the square, so we dismounted and began to walk to the tavern. As we neared the tavern, we saw Danny and the others of the Sultan Circle. Danny looked to Patsy, then us. We moved over to Patsy, Danny moved over to Patsy and kissed her on the lips. Going on an outing, my lover? Danny asked. I take it Tony had not found you, Patsy told him. When you say things like that, it is never a good outcome, Danny replied. What did the bunch of you do now? Alex turned to us and asked. Hey, we did nothing. We were doing nothing, Emmett said. Yes, Emmett, I believe that as much as I believe that Patsy Lee will lose her voice, Peter spitefully said. Kiss off, Emmett then replied to Peter. Your mouth really needs to be busted at times, Peter then replied. "Come on, fool, and try doing it," Emmett challenged him. "All right, Peter. Who in the Lord's name is the oldest here? Cease it," Danny said. "I am older than the two of you," Peter told Danny. "Act it, big brother," Danny told him. Danny then looked back to Patsy, as Emmett and Peter was now in a standoff, staring at one another. "What is going on?" Danny asked. "The kids did not do anything. It seems Tony has Jolene and two other women chained in the tavern. They tried to leave the kingdom," Patsy explained to Danny as I moved up beside Emmett, in case Peter tried something stupid. Peter then looked to me and then back to Emmett. "This does not add up. It has been over 2 full year cycles. Why would she resort back into escaping?" Danny said. It seemed confused. "Peter, return to the lodge. I will be back there as soon as I take care of what is going on," Danny told Peter, and he broke eye contact with Emmett and I. "Right," Peter said in a foul mood. Then he moved down the main street of the square. "I think you pissed him off," Alex spoke up, saying. "He is lucky I did not knock the piss out of him," Danny then said. "What his problem?" Emmett asked. I do not know. Peter has had an attitude ever since he returned from Xandoe last month. Word is he and Princess Penny got into a dispute as she was having a party. Damn, I don't know. Besides, he has an attitude ever since. The closer the end of the millennium it comes, people start acting stupid," Scott said, coming up on us as we started walking towards the tavern. He then picked up Juanita and tickled her, and she screamed and squirmed, laughing. "Hey, Princess," he said, placing her back to the ground. "Scott, you 'bout give me heart failure," Juanita told him, and we all laughed. "We have at least 30 years before the end, so why is all going crazy now?" Danny asked as we came up on the tavern. "Well, the Millennium High Priest has to take a stand in the next 15 to 20 years, Scott said. "So you gonna climb that mountain in 15 more years?" Alex said. "Drop off. I am not climbing that forsaken mountain. I keep telling Father this. One of you will. It will not be me," Scott said, and he looked about, and Tony came over to us. "Maybe I climb the mountain," Emmett said, and I blinked and looked at Emmett. He was crazy. "You are too young. Father would not allow it," Alex said. "Father best come up with something. He only has about 15 full year cycles, and actually that is pushing it," Scott said, looking to Tony. "There you are," Tony then said, looking to Danny. "Yes, here I am. I am told you have something that belongs to me." "Want to tell me what happened?" Danny asked, as Scott and Alex moved on to the tables. "Hey kids, come with me. Let's practice on your songs since you're here already," Mike called, and we all moved with him closer to the stage to listen to the girls sing and perhaps just play around with them. I went to the piano, and Emmett went to the drums, and the rest of them took up a mic. I could play the piano pretty good. Emmett could play anything. It turned out that the free female was Patsy and Jolene's aunt, and she only wanted to visit with Jolene. They were not going to leave. It was just that Patsy's aunt had a camp in the forest, so that's where they were headed. It all turned out pretty good.